For nearly 3 decades now, Iranian women have been struggling to achieve the right to divorce and to have equal parental rights in terms of custody. The right to marry up to 4 wives, polygamy for men, has created an unbearable and disgraceful reality for Iranian women. For years, Iranian women have objected to unequal blood money or compensation for bodily injury, which has set the worth of a female half of that of a male. Testimony of women in criminal law in case of homicide are not allowed, and in other courts, if they are indeed allowed, it worth only half of that of a man. Women's high rate in university-level education and their active struggle for a continued presence in the social, political, and cultural spheres attest to their abilities and reaffirm that women today do not face the same conditions which women faced in Arabia in mid-6th century, when for their own protection, perhaps some of these laws came about. Women are not destitute and will not starve to death if not married off to men 2 or 3 times their age. Where young girls outnumber boys at university attendees, why 13-year-old girls are forced to marry, and why a woman needs written permission of her husband to travel. Women in today Iran are full participants in the professional workforce actively and held all positions allowed under the regime. There are cultural and social, these are cultural and social realities of our 21st century. Why shouldn't our laws also be reflective of today's Iran and not mid-6th century? Although there is a danger in viewing historic laws with modern attitude, hindered by risk of misinterpretation and mistranslation, I would argue that codified penal laws promoting unequal treatment of women in Iran today indeed lack justification. Let us examine the codified law of the punishment for the crime of adultery. According to the universally accepted Quranic interpretation for the crime of adultery, death sentence and especially stoning needs stringent evidence and its required number of witnesses to the actual act of penetration, which is comparable to our Western beyond the reasonable doubt. من نمیدونم چند تا وکیل بین شماها هست اینجا، ولی در قانون آمریکایی این beyond reasonable doubt is the highest standard of review. و شما فکر میکنم همه اوج سیمپسون یادتون بیاد، ترایل اوج سیمپسون برای کسانی که چندین سال هست اینجا زندگی کردن. و اگه خاطرتون باشه اوج سیمپسون وقتی که توی کریمینال دادگاه رفت، what happened? He was exonerated. نتونستن محکومش کنن با اینکه همه میگفتن این قتلا رو انجام داده، به خاطر اینکه استاندارد آف ریویو بیاند ریزنبل آف داوت خیلی خیلی بالاست. یعنی you have to be sure 99.9% with clear evidence. ولی وقتی که اوجه کیسش رفت سیویل لا که اون خانواده 2 تا کسانی که کشته شده بودن اینو سو کردن، what happened? Yes, he was found guilty. وقت به خاطر اینکه استاندارد آف ریویو یک پله فقط آمده بود پایین، یعنی از کریمینال لا تا سیویل لا there was 1 degree less standard of review. اون stringent requirement beyond reasonable of doubt اون چیزیه که برای crime of adultery یا زنا اون باید اجرا بشه. اگه ما بخوایم به strict به نوشته های مذهبی including قرآن نگاه بکنیم و اون الان توی ایران پیاده نمیشه. In Iran, in almost all cases involving women accused of illicit relationship, all male judges rely on hearsay and their own hunches instead of clear convincing evidence to proclaim women guilty. مطمئن هستم که همه اطلاع دارین که الان در حال حاضر 12 تا خانوم ایرانی و 2 تا آقای ایرانی الان توی دترو هستن که قراره که کشته بشن از طریق اینکه بخوان از طریق سنگ، ولی فعلا توی دترو هستن. و ایران دومین کشور در دنیا که بزرگترین نمره کسانی رو داشته که اعدام کرده که بیشترشون خانوما بودن و از طریق استونینگ بودن، تقریبا 400 نفر، که تنها کشوری که اوت نامبر کرده ایرانو کشور چینه در کشتن کسانی رو که دستگیر میکنن. In today's Iran, there are quotas limiting the participation of women in fields of study at university level. Young girls at the age of 9 are held fully responsible for criminal offenses, even self-defense at time of rape. و حتما شما شنیدین که اگه یه خانومی ریپ میشه تو ایران و اگه اون خانوم شکایت بکنه و بگه من ریپ شدم و اگه اون کسی که ریپش کرده نیاد بگه که من شما رو ریپ کردم، اون خانوم میتونه سنگبار بشه به جرم اینکه ادلتری شده. و این اتفاق توی ایران چندین دفعه افتاده. Despite the gains women have made in terms of outnumbering men at universities, women still face extraordinary obstacles. Men have the right to divorce their wives, شنیدین گفتم wives, extrajudicially. That means whenever they wish. And they are granted custody of their children over age of 7. Men can ban their wives from working outside of their homes. And of course, men can engage in multiple marriages, permanent and temporary. Iranian women face multitude of problems because they have married Afghani or Iraqi refugees. Because of biased nationality laws, these women are unable to pass on their nationality to their children. Now for years, Iranian women have advocated and authorities have spoken about putting an end to such a barbaric practice of stoning and honor killings by changing the laws, which support such cultural practices that violates the right of women. Yet honor killings and stoning punishments continue in today's Iran. Now, these punishments, these crimes, can no longer be viewed as cultural and political. They are clear forms of violence against women, which are supported and sanctioned by the law as they are being practiced and implemented in family and criminal courts in today's Iran.